But let me ask you a question you may not be expecting.
All right.
I looked on the podcast, the Lotus Eaters website,
Mm-hmm.
on your bio, and it says, so this is public knowledge. So if you don't want me to ask this,
Yeah. Go
tough,
ahead.
tough because it's on the website, that you had a social justice warrior girlfriend at one point. You got to tell me about that.
Okay. Obviously, I'm not going to name any
No, no,
names.
no, no. Of course.
But yeah, I really need to I need to update that bio because I wrote it just off the cuff on my first morning when I came into the office. They were like, "Oh, you need a bio." Oh, all right, then here you go. And it's not entirely reflective or accurate of me right now. But yeah, um, in my life, I have only been in two relationships. I consider myself somebody who has a preference for commitment. I like to think of myself perhaps as a bit of an old-fashioned gentleman in that sense. But maybe I'm giving myself a bit too much credit there. And my first relationship, I was 15 when when we got together. She was interested in me. She asked me out because I was some lanky, spotty, long-haired 15-year-old who didn't know how to interact with girls. So, I was very, very surprised that she fancied me, and we started going out. And for a while, it worked. I ended up being with her for almost 4.5 years, which was not a great idea on my part. And yeah, it became very clear to me after a while that she was a bit insane on certain subjects. She was a radical feminist. So she was constantly going. She was where I first started to learn about terms like intersectionality. She was where I started to learn about terms like socialism. She was where I started to learn about terms privilege. I always got told that I had a certain level of privilege, so I needed to be nicer to her. And it's like, well, be someone being worth being nice to. How about that? um, and we often got into a lot of arguments. She was a vegetarian, so at one point she compared me to Hitler because I ate meat, which was a very interesting one. She also had this.
But Hitler was a vegetarian.
I know, I know. She was full of contradictions. Like she's full of contradictions and mysteries. She was also a kind of an arch moral relativist in a way that at the time I understand it more now because I understand it's an actual worldview, that the way people view each other. But it really confused me at the time because I got told when I was talking, I was like, I can't believe you compared me to Hitler. Like, obviously, I'm nowhere near as bad a person as Hitler. And then she just goes like, well, who are you to say? And I go, what on earth do you mean? Obviously, I can tell the difference between my own actions and the actions of someone like Hitler. Okay. And then she's like, well, no one's really better than anybody else. And I'm like, but why are you spending time with me and not random strangers in the street then? Why are you doing anything with any people that you choose to spend your time with? Because there is a selection process when you make friends, and you generally try and align yourself, unless you're in a dire straits and you have to align yourself with whoever's there. If you've got a choice, you tend to go with the people that you think are either best for you, share your most interest, or are the most virtuous and kindest and better people to spend time with. So I just said to her, I was like, okay, am I at least better than Jimmy Savile? And she goes, no. Like, all right then, bloody hell. And that was a real sticking point for me. And the thing that really confused me out of all of this was that her and her family voted Tory, which was really confusing. But it was because, interestingly enough, despite how left wing they all were, they were very wealthy. They were very wealthy. They came from money. They had a house in France that cost like £500,000 that I went on holiday to once with them. It was actually very nice. And the only reason that they said that they voted Tory was because they had constant issues with, oh, this is going on with the council tax. This is going on with this road that we don't like that's happening. And they emailed the Tory candidate who was around, and he was the only one who emailed back. And that was it. But it was obviously, they were voting in their own financial interests as well as holding the line. And then right before I broke up with her, her dad came out as trans.
Oh,
And
gee. Do you know what? If I didn't know you, I'd say you're making all this up if I didn't know you.
No, no, it's true. It's true. Her dad came out as trans, and they made a really big deal of telling me, and I just went, all right, okay, whatever. Do I have to treat him any different? And they went, well, he'd prefer to go by this name now, but other than that, no. And I was like, all right. And then okay, whatever. And then a few months later, I broke up with her, and it broke her heart, and she begged. I feel like I'm bigging myself up and telling nonsense stories now, and I don't mean to do this to character assassinate. I don't recommend anybody try and figure out who this person is or anything, but it ended up with like her begging me and saying like, why are you breaking up with the rich girl? Don't you understand, years from now when we're married and my parents are gone, we'll have all this money behind us. And I was like, that doesn't matter to me. I just want to be with somebody who I enjoy spending time with. And since then, a few months after that, I met my fiance, and we've been together it'll be 6 years in December by the time since I met her properly, and then in January it'll have been 6 years since we've been together. We're engaged now, and we're hoping to get married around like I think June or July 2024 is where we've kind of got a rough estimate of date set for it. And yeah, so I think I made the right decision. But
Sounds like you definitely made the right decision. Let me give you my theory on women. Now,
all right, yeah, go for it.
I've never ever said this publicly, so this could be my second cancellation.
Your career ender, Nick. Best be careful.
No, exactly. Now, I'm a lot older than you. I'm 54, so I've had lots of relationships, lots of female company, and I've seen the world before the internet.
But yeah.
Before the internet ruined it all. So I'm like an old type geezer. Let me tell you about women. There's only two types of women: good mental and bad mental.
Oh, absolutely.
But they're all mental.
Oh yeah.
Some are good mental, some are bad mental. Now I found a good mental one, and I married her last year. Been together 13 years, but then I married her after 12 years. But she was good mental. And that 12 years wasn't me deciding if I was going to marry her or not. It was me trying to find out if was she really bad mental, but pretending to be good mental. Because the relationship I had before that, she was bad mental, presented as bad mental, told me she was bad mental. And the only thing I ever saw from her was bad mental. Do not try to... Pardon?
But you still held on.
I still held on because I hadn't figured out my theory then, but my theory now is good mental, bad mental. Don't try to figure them out apart from those two groupings. Don't try to understand what they mean, what they say. The only way you can understand a woman is think of them as a man and take away reasoning and accountability, and then you have a woman.
Absolutely. My fiance, I love her to absolute pieces. I feel like we get each other, we understand each other for the most part, but she's still into all these bloody crystals, into tarot cards, bloody astrology. Don't get me started on astrology. I say some things sometimes, and she's like, oh, I don't understand that, but you are a Leo. And I'm like, what does that mean? She said, well, you're a Leo. What does that mean, though? It means you're a Leo. Oh, all right, throw my hands up, like whatever that means, I'll agree with you. Whatever, as long as it keeps you happy.
Well, after this interview, I want you to blow her mind, and you need to say to her, astrology, why would being born at a certain time, day, affect the rest of your life? What I think is the first 3 months of development in the womb is what affects your personality, your future. It's the way the stars and the planets are beaming down into the womb. That's what defines a person, not when they're born. Tell her that and watch your head explode.
That's not a bad one, actually. I might try that, but I don't know if she's ready for it. I don't know.
And the reason why we don't understand women is because we're not women. The reason why women don't understand us is because they're not men. And that's okay. We've been created to be different because when we come together with the perfect partnership, To raise children, we need a father and a mother because they bring different things to the table. We need mothers to stay at home because they're mothers. Men need to go out and protect and be providers, which a lot of men don't do that anymore. We have roles because we're the same species, but we're almost different creatures, and there's nothing wrong in that.
Absolutely. Like you say, it's complementary to one another. We whatever deficiencies men have, women make up for it, and the deficiencies women have, men make up for it. Schopenhauer, in fact, I was listening to an audiobook version of Schopenhauer on women a few months ago, and he said something that really stuck with me, that I think is really accurate, actually, which is that he said, women exist entirely in the present. And obviously, he's generalizing a bit, but most women exist entirely in the present. The future is not something that crosses their mind, nor the past. They exist in the here and now. Whereas men exist in the past, they exist in the future. We're constantly thinking about what came before, what we need to do ahead of us. We're constantly planning for things. But we don't exist in the present, which is why we complement each other so well. And also why I expect women take so bloody long to get ready for nights out, because they don't know how long they're taking. They only exist in the present. Does my butt look good in this? Does my lipstick look good right now? How does my eyeliner look? That's all they care about. And I've been sat there, over there, on the chair, waiting for half a bloody hour after I've been ready already. She's been going for 4 hours. And, I just sit there going, yeah, Schopenhauer's absolutely right.
And it's also correct when we look at protecting our young, because men protect young and so do women protect young as well. Women protect young, you're right, in the here and now. It's about immediate danger. Don't do that. Don't touch this. Don't fall off that. It's also why women have an instinct to pick children up, because it gets them off the ground level where snakes and predators are. And that's why they have the instinct to pick children up. Men also protect children. And one of our jobs is to teach children how to be safe in the future. So we're always teaching girls how to spot dangerous men, how to pick good men. We're teaching boys how to fight, how to walk away from trouble, how not to get involved in things that could lead to a dangerous situation. So we're both protecting our children, but we're doing it in different ways because we're complementary, just like you said.
Yeah, I saw a wonderful thing recently. There's a guy called Will Noland who's actually contributed on Lotus Eaters once or twice. He's written an article for us, I think. And he goes by Noland Knows on Twitter. And he does some really good little threads. And one of the things that he said that I thought was really insightful was that if you're going out, if you're a father who goes out drinking every night, you're teaching your kids a lesson. If you're a father who stays in every night reading to his children, you're teaching them a lesson as well. We're always teachers to our children, whether we know it or not.
Yep, totally agree. Children learn by copying what's around them. And who they see most of all is normally the parents, and they copy their parents. That's how they're learning to be adults.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I can't wait to become a father. Because I want to experience all this, but I'm under no illusions whatsoever that it's going to be easy for me. It will be so difficult. But at this stage in my life, I'm 26 now. I feel like it's time to get out of, arrested adolescence, because until you are a dad, like Carl says, until you're a dad, you're basically just a kid, and I want to move on to the next stage of my life and become a real adult with real responsibilities beyond just making the rent each month. And I think that's the next step for me.
No, absolutely. And you need to do it ASAP. Like I said, I got married last year mainly because...
Sorry, I don't know that one.
That's my Alexa kicking off in the background. I got married last year really because... I don't have to word this without me getting divorced. Because of my cancellation in 2020. So my life fell apart in June 2020, and the only person stood by my side through all of it was my long-term partner. And then I got over that and was victorious, as you know. And then I realized, what am I waiting for? I've already decided she's the woman for the rest of my life. I'm not looking around. I'm not waiting for something better to come along. She's what I want. Why am I not marrying her? And that's when I said, that's when I proposed. And then we would have got married a year earlier, but COVID messed it all up. We couldn't get anywhere to get married. And then when we got married last year, COVID was still messing it all up. So we couldn't get the venue we wanted. And in the end, I just said, let's get married in the registry office, because that's all we want, is to get married. We don't want a big wedding. And that all came from the worst time of my life, June 2020, when my life fell apart, and the only person who supported me and stood by my side and was there for me was my long-term partner. And that's when I realized there's never going to be a perfect time to get married. There's never going to be a perfect time to do anything. This is what I want. It's here in front of me. I just need to do it and then make the rest up as I go along.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the old I say yes, then I figure it out later. Opportunity comes, say yes, figure out how you're going to do it afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I worked for the council for nearly a decade, and the amount of meetings I sat in where all we discussed was what we're going to discuss at the next meeting, because nobody's got any solutions. And I don't run my businesses like that. I didn't run my charity like that, and I don't run my relationships like that. I run them as in, we're going to do this and we'll figure it out along the way, because at least we're halfway there when we decide we're going to do it.